Yeah,
be your fault or not.
sure. I said I'd bring that through all this. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah.
Who's right by ending up this year?
Davenport.
Davenport again.
Yeah, I think.
It's been a while since it ended in Dubuque. I think 2010 was the last year.
It's been a
Yeah,
while.
I know. Well,
Some
hope
of
you're,
them are pretty new, but I'm gonna ask them anyway.
whatever it takes. Yeah, nice subcontract for the interim, you know, with travel and housing, it's like easy. No,
Unless it's
wouldn't be.
real to me that
Right, right.
Correct, yeah, I got two of them, so.
Yeah, yeah. But again, $75 an hour compared to 100. Yeah, I know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. All the, yeah, everything, yeah. For which one?
I got it coming up on 17 seconds.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That atomic watch or what?
Yeah,
I know they're expensive.
yeah, yeah.
It'll be about there.
Nope.
Good thing your phone went off, because I didn't turn mine off.
Jeez, I don't usually bring mine in.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the East Dubuque City Council meeting, special meeting on Thursday, July 20th, 5 p.m. meeting. I ask that you please turn off your cell phones during the meeting and please be quiet during discussions. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Twenty-three 0715 call to order.
Belkin,
Here.
Bergmeyer,
Here.
Dagenhart,
Here.
Mayor Digman,
Here.
Fleur, Meyer, Roby,
Here,
and Attorney Hess.
Here.
23 0716 speakers from the floor. All right, we'll move on to new business. 23 0717 discussion and possible action to approve an agreement with Dennis Sabers as a temporary accounting consultant in the city of East Dubuque. So in your packets, you'll see Dennis was one that we wanted to bring in to help consult with our accounting.
Motion to approve.
I have a question. Can we ask a question before we go on with the
Sure.
motion?
Is he bonded?
I'd have to check.
I think we should check on that, please.
Okay.
Just being he's going to be looking into finances, I
If
think he
he's
should be bonded.
CPA, he's bonded.
Sure.
Well, I'm sure he is, but
Is
we
Sue
should.
still here? Because she could probably. Is there any way you can reach out to him? I mean, if we just wait a minute if we can.
Yeah, we,
Motion's on the table.
it's not. It should be, but you never know.
He's not.
Okay.
That's surprising.
So can we make that a requirement? I think that's something he really should be, being he's into finances.
He's not doing anything with our funds. He's not, right? He's reviewing
He's just reviewing.
accounting. He's not handling our funds. I don't know why we would need a bond.
Does he have to be bonded?
Not if he's not accessing our funds. He's reviewing documents. So I don't know that he needs to be bonded.
Yeah, he's just reviewing. He's not accessing our bank accounts at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
Belkin,
Aye.
Bergmeyer,
Aye.
Dagenhart, Fleur, Meyer, Roby.
Aye.
All right, 23-0718, discussion and possible action to approve an agreement with GovHR USA, GovTemps USA, or Public Administration Associates LLC for search of interim city manager in the city of East Dubuque. So in your packets, basically what you're going to find, there's two proposals for interim city manager. One is from GovHR, Temp USA or GovTemps they go by, and the other one is from Public Administration Associates LLC. They both kind of spelled out what they what they were offering to us. Just to kind of recap, a quick synopsis of the two. GovHR's proposal was to place an interim city manager in here at the rate of, it said $90 to $110 per hour plus travel. Public Administration Associates was at $75 per hour plus travel. Then there was I actually did a third company that I reached out to, and they could not do the search. So I thought it was, it's something where I thought we needed to move rather quickly, but be thorough about things. And, I wanted to do my due diligence to make sure that we had options, and I present options to you. My recommendation, moving forward would be to, accept the proposal from Public Administration Associates. I'm about relationships, and I think, to me, I've had good conversations when I was reaching out to them, where I think sometimes you're just another email address, but, this, we've had good conversations. I like the fact that they have a plan in place, they have a candidate in place ready to go for us, where the other proposal didn't spell any of that stuff out. And even in their proposal, they included his resume. I like the fact that they even they went to as far as saying when he could start, which is, starting this Monday. And the other part was they put like conflicted dates where he couldn't,
Yeah.
where he couldn't work. I mean, I was really impressed with their proposal. Plus, there's a savings there. And John is here from Public Administration to answer any questions that you may have.
I just have one question. I looked over the resume. What's his name? Steets, I think. And Sites. The resume is very impressive, number one, but I do have a question. And it's probably pretty mute, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do we have to have a police background check?
Or are they checked through public administration?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see on the proposal for a regular city manager that it does say that a background check would be at our cost. Sure. But I know previously we've done background checks on just about every employee. And I didn't know if we needed to, like I said,
Does the,
his resume is very impressive, so.
do the background check?
Yeah, I mean, John, can you answer that question? I mean, because he's actually, he wouldn't be an employee of ours, he'd be an employee
Employee of theirs.
of theirs.
Right.
It is not necessary to do a background check, but certainly if that's something that the city would require, we can make that happen.
You think that's necessary?
I don't know. That's why I asked the question. I mean, I know we used to do them on every employee, but that's why I wanted to ask. I don't know.
I'd be interested in knowing how they vet their candidates that they,
John, you want to come up and answer a few questions, please?
What was the question? I'm
well, I think the question is, what are the qualifications to be an affiliate with the company, a contract person with the company? What are the requirements?
Sure. I'll just give you a little background on Mr. Seitz, and I've known him since the early 90s. We both worked in the state senate together. So that's how long I've known him. Mr. Seitz recently was in one of our recruitments and is in another one right now as a full-time city administrator. So when we were looking at an interim and knew that there was a need to fill this spot in a hurry, and being that Mr. Seitz lives south and east of Madison, he came to mind immediately as someone who would be could serve that role as an interim very well. And we knew that he was available, so we reached out to him, and he said absolutely he was interested. So, and I want to be perfectly honest because that's the way I am. This would be Mr. Seitz's first assignment with PAA. However, I would say, and as I mentioned to the mayor, just Tuesday evening, the county where I was serving as the interim county administrator just contracted with me for the next, until October 24th to get them through their budget, to do economic development work. We have a UW system campus, a 2-year campus that's closing in our community where the county owns all those facilities. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that because I was tied up and I could not do the interim, but I'm willing to work on the recruitment if that's what you decide to do and serve as a mentor and a backup to Mr. Seitz.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, any other questions? Jeannie?
Well, it's just a matter of whether or not we're going to require a background check. I don't know that we need to.
I don't know if we need to on him.
It's a legitimate question.
So what's the
I don't
background check?
I mean,
about?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how long would something like that take?
Well, and could we, I mean, if we do end up requiring it, I know in the past, they have allowed the employee to start working as the background check was done. And then if anything came up, then, would discuss from there. But I don't even know, do we want to require it? Like I said, he does have a very impressive resume, so.
Just if I could, two things. One is, and I'm not trying to tell you not to do a background check, because certainly that's your prerogative to do so. When we do background checks for, when we were hiring full-time administrators and full-time city managers, usually if the police chief or the sheriff's department, if they have name, middle name, social security number, and date of birth, in less than an hour, they can have a background check done. So that's pretty simple to do. And then the second thing, I think if you take a look at the most recent positions that Mr. Seitz held, the number 2 person, deputy secretary at the Wisconsin Department of Transportation, and also for the Wisconsin Public Service Commission, there's 3 commissioners appointed by the governor, and he was the chief staff to one of those commissioners. So I just mentioned that.
Thank you. Luke, I mean, that'd be something that you could just run the numbers on, or?
That's illegal in the state of Illinois.
Okay,
What we would do is, if you guys required it, he would go to the sheriff's office, and he would submit fingerprints, and then whenever the state of Illinois decides to send me his background information on whether he's been arrested or not arrested, then I can present to the council. But I think Pam submitted fingerprints a few months ago, and I have not received those yet.
Actually, it's probably been longer than that.
I
I guess
guess
back
my
that kind
question.
of background, I don't see where it's necessary.
I don't either, really.
Yeah, I just thought it was a question that should be
No, I mean, it's a
asked,
good
so,
question.
because,
I think if it was a candidate that was just applying on individually, it would be a good idea, but having,
To a firm.
go through the firm,
Quite a background.
yeah.
Yeah.
and we're actually employing the firm, and not the individual, so I mean, I'm sure they have insurance and stuff behind them and all that.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm sure that, yeah.
All right, so we got a motion to approve Public Administration Associates LLC for our interim city manager appointment.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Bergmeyer,
Aye.
Dagenhart, Roby,
Aye.
Belkin.
Aye.
23-0719, discussion and possible action to approve an agreement with GovHR USA, GovTemps USA, or Public Administration Associates LLC for the search of a new city manager. So what this is this would be the full-blown recruitment for a city manager. Just to get down to the gist of things, GovHR's proposal came in at $24,500. Public Administration Associates came in at $19,200, which could go down to $17,100 with options depending on what we could do. Like this, some of it was if we did a Zoom meeting rather than an in-person, there's things that you can subtract off. I did reach out to Barb Doss from the city of Platteville. She was listed in their material as a reference, so I gave her a call. She's the city council president, and she had nothing but good things to say about Public Administration Associates. They've conducted, I think, 5 searches for Platteville up there. They're very happy with the work. Yeah, I mean, another great conversation, and moving forward, I mean, my recommendation would be to accept the proposal from Public Administration Associates to conduct our search for the city manager position. John's here on behalf of them to answer any questions that you may have.
I was pretty happy with that one, too.
Yeah, I was too.
I
Do we
think-
have to decide tonight whether we go with the $1,900 or the $19,000 or the $17,000? Do we have to decide that tonight? I'm just wondering, because there's certain council member that aren't here that probably should have some input.
Yeah, if you could, please.
What I was thinking is that if you approve the contract with PEA, and I would be the lead person doing the recruitment for the city, Dave Brettel, who is vice president of PEA, would be my backup person on that. We would schedule a kickoff meeting to get things going, and then really at the end of that kickoff meeting is when we need to know what options you would choose.
Okay.
So that does not have to be decided tonight. If you approve our contract, we are willing to start working immediately until that next meeting, and then you decide which option you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other part I liked about their proposal was the dates that they laid out. You know, they had a whole map laid out in a plan,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, there was a very nice plan laid
Yeah,
out,
very
even,
nice. Yeah.
even when he isn't available, and
I'll make the motion to accept it.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to accept the proposal from Public Administration Associates LLC to conduct the search for a new city manager. Roll call.
Dagenhart.
Aye.
Roby.
Aye.
Falcon.
Aye.
Bergmeyer.
Aye.
All right. Item 23-0720, possible informational discussion with Public Administration Associates LLC regarding the search for a new city manager in the city of East Dubuque.
John, you're going to have to excuse me. I have a commitment I have to attend.
Nope. Thank you. John, if you'd like to come up and,
Should have just left.
Yeah,
Tell him
Jim.
to stay there for the whole meeting.
So, Mr. Mayor, I am available for any questions. Thank you, first of all, for approving the contract with PEA. We will absolutely do our best. I have over 40 years in local government, and it's been the most rewarding thing for me in my life to do. I've got a passion for local government, and it was only 5 years ago when my father passed away, I decided at his funeral I needed to spend a little more time with my family. Otherwise, I'd probably be sitting in a seat very similar, to yours. So thank you for what you do, and thank you for trusting us to do your recruitment. And I'd be willing to answer any questions.
So we start looking immediately for,
Yeah, I could give you,
obviously, we gotta be talking salary, et cetera, and
right. So I didn't know what would happen with the contract, but I had a little bit of time yesterday, so I worked on information for a kickoff meeting. If you really want to get the process moving, I would be willing to walk through that with you this evening rather than schedule another meeting. And, we could do the kickoff tonight if that's what you would like me to do, and I could explain the process. And, it's up to the committee. Or up to the council. I would say that the longer we delay it, with some dates that I laid out right now, I think that a very aggressive timetable would be to have someone in place, not on an interim basis, but on a permanent basis, probably by mid-November at the earliest. So, then with the Thanksgiving holidays and with Christmas, I think you want to move sooner rather than later. So if you wanted to go through that process, I could do that rather quickly this evening if you wanted.
let's do it.
Let's do it.
Get her going.
I think, Mr. Mayor, what would be helpful, if that's what the council desires, if someone could make copies for me, enough for the council?
I'm not gonna last, so.
It's the same document, one double sided, one single,
Longer. I said, the longer we wait,
So perhaps I'll just, if it's okay, I will start on a few things while you're waiting for copies. Does that make sense? Okay. So a couple things that I would like to talk to you about this evening, and I'll try and make it as quick as I can. It's sort of the recruitment plan and the schedule. And again, the sooner that we can get this going, getting started would be really helpful to the process. So we don't need to know all the information this evening, and we can work on that. But when you see the handout that I have, it will explain, I think, a lot of things moving forward in the process. And we hope that, at least for those of you that are here, that you have calendars available. So the sooner we can get things on the calendar, again, that really helps the process. And I tried as much as possible. I saw that most of your meetings are on Monday evenings, so I tried to schedule things on Monday evening, because some of these meetings will take longer than others, but I think there's some where we can do it in conjunction with the city council meeting. So, again, I would be the lead person on the recruitment, working with you, available whenever you want to call me by email, phone. It's my intention that I'm at the meetings here in person. It didn't appear that Zoom was really a good option, so it is my intent, and I'm about an hour and a half or so from my home, and I drive every day. It's what I do, so I don't mind at all. So a couple of things for the next meeting, so this meeting, I want to talk a little bit about the recruitment plan and some of the dates that we're talking about, and we may have to change those based on your calendars. There's a survey that we like to do. Thank you. There's a survey that we like to do to have the elected officials fill out, and also the department heads. It really gives us an idea of the professional type of skills that you're looking for as far as experience in certain city functions, and then also some questions on personal qualities. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, because I do have a copy of that survey here, and I could take notes and make some changes if necessary. So we want to set the dates, have you approve the survey if you can, position description, and we can talk more about that at the next meeting. It's my understanding that the city does not have a position description for the city manager. So based on your ordinances, we drafted a very basic one. So I think between this meeting and next week meeting, we should have conversations and perhaps working with the city attorney, things that you might want added into that job description. Because getting that job description approved at the end of the next meeting is important, because that would be included with the materials that we send out in the packet to do the recruitment and in the ads. And then I want to talk about, we call it an assessment, and there's an option to save some money if you do a single day assessment rather than a 2-day or a 1.5-day assessment. So what that process is, and everyone that I've been involved in the last 1.5 plus, we do the 2-day assessment. So the candidates will arrive, let's say noon one day. They do a city tour that day. They do a writing exercise, which I would strongly recommend that you do. We'll give you a list of 5 questions or so, and you can select which of the questions, or if you want to have each one of the candidates respond to a question. It's not as important of how they answer the question, but is that we can see that they have good communication skills and they actually can use a computer and function that way appropriately. You'd be surprised sometimes that people tell you that yes, they can, but then once they start, they really aren't good writers. So we really want to see that exercise. And then every one of the recruitments that I've been involved in, and I think it's a little bit different because you're a smaller body, the recruitments, they'll do something like early in the evening and they'll do a meet and greet. And usually that is for those elected officials who were unable to make the interviews when we do the final interviews, for members of the public that are interested in coming, for members of the staff that have not had the opportunity to meet the candidates. So a city tour that's conducted by city staff, the writing exercise, possibly a meet and greet, but you don't have to do that. We can give you the one option which doesn't do that. And then forget the other thing I was going to say that we do that. Oh, we have an opportunity. We believe it's important that the staff also gets to meet with the candidates. And they understand that they can't vote. They don't approve in agreement with the candidate, but it's important for the council. We believe it's important for the council to provide that input. So those are some of the things that I'd like to talk about tonight. So again, I got my papers out of order here. So what I had on for the kickoff meeting was July 24th, which I know is your next council meeting, but if we can knock that off this evening, then we can keep things moving. And then on the next meeting after that, I plugged in August 1st, which again would be another council meeting. August 7th would be another council meeting, and we could do the second part of this discussion. And that would be, then we'd have to have a deadline that no later than August 1st, those surveys that we provide to you, that they would be returned to us so we can tabulate those, summarize those, and give you the information for that second meeting. So we're saying that if the surveys are returned, and this is all included in the packet that I gave you, but feel free, if we need to change dates, this is your recruitment, not ours. I just plugged in some dates here that I thought we could, have conversation tonight. And at that second meeting, we would need to have a closed session, and I'll work with the city attorney on, I know Illinois law is a little bit different than Wisconsin law, but have a closed session because we will definitely want to be talking about salary ranges. And there may be other things that we want to talk about in closed session. Once we have that second meeting and you approve all the documents and moving forward, so the position description, the position announcement, the advertising plan, so we show you who we're all contacting to place the ads, the actual position profile, and the remainder of the recruitment schedule. We want to get all of that approved at the second meeting. If all of that is approved at the second meeting, let's say it's August 7th, then on August 8th, we could begin running the ads. And typically, most recruitment companies and most bodies that are looking for public employees, you have that recruitment for at least 30 days. So what I was suggesting is that if we meet on August 1st, the very next day, we could get ads rolling, and we would suggest closing the recruitment on September 11th. Then we would take the next week and a half, PAA, we would summarize the backgrounds, and we would tell you what the background checks that we did, the recommendations on each one of these candidates. We would provide that to you in written form, in a report, no later than the 20th. And then September 22nd, I believe that is not a Monday. I think that might be a Wednesday, I believe. I just plugged that date in. If we had a city council meeting, and that would also be a closed session, where we would select from the people that applied, you would select who your final candidates are. And then we would determine whether we're doing the 1 day or the 2 day, day and a half assessment. And we would also talk about the proposed employee agreement. So we have a little bit of time to work on an employment agreement for the finalists. All of that being said, we could then potentially, I plugged in, it was a Thursday and Friday, September 28th and 29th would be, and again, that could depend a little bit on how many candidates we have. And that is actually, the 28th, 29th is where we would do the assessment, where we would do the city tour, the writing example, meet with department heads, and then the following morning, if mornings work for you, the following morning we would conduct the interviews for the candidates. And hopefully, at that meeting, after the final interviews with the candidates, we would sit down and deliberate immediately and make a decision. So I have in there that if you have that meeting, or the interviews on the 28th and 29th, if there'd still be time that day and the committee comes to a consensus, you could authorize us to begin negotiating a contract that we could do as early as October 6th if all these other dates fall in place. And then the candidate would have, so we begin negotiations, and if negotiations are successful, then they can conduct all the background checks, any tests that you want for them, physical tests. And the employee would have the week of October 9th to complete all the activities that you are requesting of them. And then mid-November, hopefully they would be able to start. Now that's depending on how quickly you can come to consensus and we can negotiate an agreement. That usually doesn't take very long. But most candidates are not going to accept an offer from you until the city has finished the background checks and you say that you're willing to move forward, because they're not going to quit their job, hoping that you're going to make that offer. So, all those things need to fall in place. So I'm not sure if those dates work for you or not. That's what I plugged in to try and accommodate your Monday night meetings as much as possible. So I don't know if you want to try and firm those up this evening or if you want to solidify them at the next meeting.
What do you think? Solidify them at the next meeting?
Okay? So
Probably better.
we will.
Have everybody here then too.
Okay, we will work assuming, or, hopeful that these dates are going to work, and if they don't, then we'll have to modify at the next meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I would say move forward with the calendar you have, and then, we can, if we need to adapt, we can.
Okay? We can do that. It was a couple-page document in this packet, was the very basic job description. And I don't know if you want to walk through that at all this evening. I don't think it's necessary that we do it this evening, but it needs to be done at the next meeting. Otherwise, it will stall the process. And certainly, we would encourage the city attorney to look through this, make any recommendations. But I think it's important for the council also to determine what you want in the job description. And I would say one other thing on the education and experience. In these really trying times of recruitment and retention, we believe it's a good idea to be a little bit more flexible on the minimum qualifications of a candidate. Because if you have a small group of candidates, and you select someone who then doesn't meet all the requirements that you had in your job description, there's the possibility of a liability concern for the city that you accepted a candidate who didn't meet all the qualifications. So we would suggest you take a very hard look on that, and we can give you some language with what we've done with more recent recruitments. And I also wanted to mention just one other thing on the job description, and that is residency. So we saw that it said that residency within the city of East Dubuque is required at the time of appointment, and I don't know if that's the case or not, but I will tell you that will really limit your pool of candidates. So if it's not a legal requirement to have that individual being a resident, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be a resident, couldn't be a resident, but I think if you limit only candidates who agree to live in the city, in Wisconsin, we cannot do that. There's only law enforcement. It's only law enforcement, public safety folks that we can require residency, and that is within 15 miles of the area that they serve. Otherwise, there's no residency. So I'm not sure if you want to have that conversation this evening or not.
We had two city managers that were not a resident, and limited housing. It's a matter of finding affordable housing too, if we require residency. I would recommend, like you said, 15 miles.
I know, Pam and I were having this discussion yesterday, and you pulled up, what was it, the realtor?
Oh, Realtor.com. And there's really not that many houses to be had within,
Here in East Dubuque.
within the city limits
Yeah,
and even outside of the city limits. So,
so I mean, we're looking at Iowa and Wisconsin,
could be, yes.
could be. Because decent housing, you know, that's gonna be something that our candidates are looking at too. You know, there's houses here, you know, that they don't wanna live in.
What, I just wish there was more people sitting at the table right now.
Well, that's why we're,
Yeah, you know, I mean,
And that answer, we don't need this evening, but it's something that, you know, again, we'll have conversations with the city attorney and Mr. Mayor with you, and, you know, if you can get a feel for what the thought is there, but it will limit your pool of candidates if you require that.
all right.
The one thing that we would like to have your approval this evening is this 2-page document with the survey. And this, we use something very, very similar on every recruitment that we do. And I could provide this electronically to the city clerk if you wish. But we really request that this survey go out to the mayor, to all the elected officials, and to all the department heads to get their input. And we would ask that this document then be returned to us no later than August 1st, so that we have it available and summarized for your next meeting that you have. And part of that is, you know, it's really important that you decide what characteristics you're looking for in your next city manager. So I don't know if you want to take a few minutes and look through that, but so what we do is we ask someone, probably the clerk, to distribute these to the people that we just talked about, have them fill it out, return it. They can either return it to the clerk or they can email it to us. That works, and then we will summarize those. But then we build this, you know, this type of information, some of it into the job description and also the position profile.
are we supposed to put our names and titles on?
You don't have to put your name on. Some people do, some people don't. It's not required to.
Not required.
It's not required. We just ask you to pick your top 5 and rank those top 5.
Okay.
So you want us to compile them from everybody, get them to Pam, and then Pam can get them to you?
Yep, or they can email them to me, whatever they want to do, just so that anything that gets returned to us by August 1st, then we can summarize.
Okay, yeah, that's easy enough.
Okay. One other thing that we really need, and that is we would like to start working on the position profile, because that takes a long time, and we use a printer, and we have some assistance with graphic design. So we're wondering a couple things. One is if we have the authority to use any of the photos that are on your website, and I could give you a list of a couple other facilities in the city. We thought if someone could take pictures and email those to us, we could get started on the profile. And it also makes a difference. So in the packet, not this packet, but the one that you had with our proposal, there are 2 position profiles in there that we put out on the internet and all these other places that we add. One is a 7-page document and the other one is a 4-page document. Again, we don't need to know that this evening, but when we're looking at designing that, it really makes a difference. It saves you money. The 7-page is much nicer, but there's nothing wrong with the 4-page document as well. And that's an answer that we would like to have sooner rather than later. So I could provide a list. Pam, would that be all right if I email you a list of other facilities that perhaps someone could take some?
Take care for you.
Okay. And let me see here. Look at one other thing. While I'm looking for the other item here, I spoke with Mr. Seitz again today, and he told me that if the contract was approved tonight, He would like to try and get here tomorrow afternoon and just stop in, no cost to the city, just to take a round and understand where things are before he would start here, and that he would be available to attend your common council meeting on Monday evening, if that's when you wish to have him start.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what, would he be available like in the afternoon prior to the meeting if we set up some times? You know, where if the alderpersons wanted to meet with them, little intro type thing?
I believe it was his intent to be here all day on Monday, not just for the common council meeting.
Okay.
And I could text you or call you and let you know that, but I believe that that's the case, that he intended to be here all day.
Great.
And another thing he told me today is, you know, in the agreement, we talked about 24 hours a week. He's flexible. If the city determines that he needs more time, that'd be something that we'd all have to have a conversation about. And he also indicated that if it was acceptable to the city, he may actually work more hours the first couple of weeks to get his feet wet, and then, you know, we could take some of that off on the back end. But he is very flexible.
Sounds good.
I was just going to get to, I think it was in the proposal. Let me look here. So on the proposal, is where, and Dave Brettel put this together. So this is where he has the pricing. So the full price of the recoupment, $19,200. And then there was a $400 deductible if we did the kickoff meeting, which we're actually doing this evening, worked out pretty well. That would have been a $400 optional, but now we're here for that. The second meeting would be another $400 optional, but if we can't do a Zoom meeting or that type of a meeting, then I would be here in person. But the other two is the 4-page position announcement. If you do that versus the 7-page position announcement, then you could deduct $600. And if you did the single day assessment versus the full day assessment, that would be another $700 deduction. So, you know, an option could be that you say that you're going to do the 2-day assessment rather than the single day. And then depending on the number of the candidates in the final pool, if we see that it's a limited number, we could compress that and do it in 1 day. And we would also be able to, we would give you the discount at that time. If there's any other questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I guess the main thing that I would need tonight is, if at all possible, if we could schedule the next meeting, which I believe August 7th would be your common council meeting, to tie up some of the things that I mentioned here this evening that we would need.
Yeah, that would work.
That's scheduled anyway.
Yeah.
Okay?
Just bring it back that night during our regular meeting.
Any other questions that you might have?
No questions? Anybody? No?
Get
We're
everything
good.
signed and
Yep, good.
So my contact information is available on these documents. Feel free. I'm one of those guys where you can contact 24/7. Doesn't bother me a bit. So this is your recruitment, and we want to make sure that it comes off the best that we possibly can, and we want everyone to be successful in this recruitment.
so.
That's good. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Anything
Yeah,
else?
Oh, you're
John?
welcome.
Good to go?
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Look forward to working with you.
Yeah. Look forward to it as well. All right, 23-0721, motion to adjourn.
Still moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Belkin,
Aye.
Bergmeyer,
Aye.
Dagenhart.
All right, we are adjourned. mean, none of our other departments